Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Debra Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light.
A brutal ambush. That is how the York County District Attorney described the deaths of 3 police officers killed in the line of duty. We'll talk to a local pastor who's helping fellow officers or fellow community members and working with other pastors to help heal a community that is in the grip of grief.
Yes, so many people are grieving. But first, here is a preview of what's coming up later in the show. Saving the lives of babies and the hearts of their mothers. That is the mission of Morning Star. For more than 50 years, this organization has provided compassionate care and assistance to women facing unplanned pregnancies. Learn how you can take steps to help women make an informed choice for themselves and their babies.
And that is a key phrase there, informed choice, really a deeply compassionate organization. Yeah. Well, flags across Pennsylvania remain at half-staff this morning in honor of the loss of 3 members of the Northern York County Regional Police Department. They were slain in a 2-minute gunfight, which critically wounded 2 other officers. Public vigils and memorials, reminders of the significance of this devastating loss to their families and the greater law enforcement community. And Debra, there are billboards now all over central Pennsylvania honoring them as well.
Yeah, I saw them driving in this morning to work. Well, we are learning more about this tragic event. It all started on Tuesday when police were called to investigate a man looking into a home with binoculars. A search of the area turned up nothing, but on Wednesday, officers obtained an arrest warrant for that man on charges that included stalking and criminal trespassing. When officers opened the front door to the home, the district attorney says the officers were met with gunfire. Detective Sergeant Cody Becker, Detective Mark Baker, and Detective Isaiah Emmenheiser died at the scene. The suspect was killed also in a shootout with police.
Horrific events, and certainly that entire community is reeling this morning. Yeah. Before we turn to the Morning Light panel, we want to talk to a longtime friend of the law enforcement community in that region. Aaron Anderson is the lead pastor at Living Word Community Church. He, along with a group of other pastors, are helping this community and local police departments process this time of extraordinary grief. He joins us live from his home in York this morning. Pastor Anderson, thank you for joining us. What a difficult few days this has been, few weeks really for the country, and then your community in the national news almost overnight. You've been helping the Northern York County Regional Police Department and all the police departments in that area over the last few days. In February, you were the one who led this beautiful tribute memorial service for a 30-year-old officer, Andrew Duarte, also killed in the line of duty. What do you say, and what are you planning to say to this community and the families affected by this loss?
Yeah, that's always the question in the midst of these kind of horrific events. And man, Jeff, good heavens, this is the 4th. There's now 4 police deaths just in the last several months here in York County, which is a lot for one community. The first thing we're thinking is just being present with them. And then, that's what we did the other night, actually. Chief David Lash of Northern York Regional is a good friend. And, we've had a chiefs and clergy group that's been meeting for almost 10 years now on a monthly basis. So probably within an hour, we had 13 clergy at the police department there. Wow. Just ready to be there. Even though, folks may or may not have wanted to talk, we just showed up to be there to say, hey, man, we're with you guys. We know you're grieving. We know you're shell shocked and, don't even know what to do at this moment. But we're here. And that's probably the first thing. It's probably more important than things will be said. But presence is sort of the first step.
Pastor, I know that social media really changes grief because the news travels faster than it ever would before. People are speculating, and then they shift into comfort mode. So it can be a wonderful tool to help show love to those families of those officers, show how well they were loved. What is the best way for a community to use social media? What should we repost? What should we not post? What gives the most comfort to a family right now when they're looking on social media?
One of the concerns I have for the country, Jeff, and I believe, you and I have been friends for a long time and we share, is the sense of rage it's easy actually to move to not to comfort, but to rage and to more violence. And that's exactly what we don't need in the country right now. We don't need that in York County. And so what families need is, again, just to be seen, for us to know that we see them, we know they're hurting, and and they're going to be hurting for months and months to come. That night, actually, I ended up calling the mom of the young man, Officer Duarte, called his mom just to check in on her to see how are you doing, because I knew that this was going to stir things for her. So I would be very careful to post things that are full of rage and violence and more division and hatred, and look to post the things, as the people of Christ, things that are full of light, life, love, and the hope that Christ gives us.
That is such good advice on all of the things that are in the headline over the past week or so. Is there a special way you're talking to students? You're a dad, you've got a big family, but also you lead Logos Academy. What do you tell students who are seeing this and may think this is just normal in so many ways?
That's actually the concern. That's the thing that I would say I'm addressing at school and at church. This is not normal. This level of division, this level of hatred. Just in the last couple of weeks, you think, Jeff, about students and what they've seen on social media, the violence that they've seen, being able to watch assassinations, watch people killed on subways. It is so normalized. I'm trying to tell kids this is not normal. This is not the way God created this world. And the blood cries out. That's the story, that old story of Cain and Abel. The blood cries out from the ground. God is not a God of violence. And so I think that's one of the things I want students to understand. Don't accept this as the normal lot, and don't be desensitized by the violence that you're watching.
Aaron, I'm going to have to leave it there this morning. I know our audience will need to be praying for you and the other pastors there. You have a hard few days and weeks ahead, but I know God will be faithful to you and give you the words to speak. So thanks for being with us this morning.
Amen. Great being with you, Jeff.
Thank you, brother. Well, we now turn to the Morning Light panel. We've had Alex, Joe, and Davis with us throughout the week. And gentlemen, this has been heavy duty for all of you. We've been asking you to help our audience process this week from the assassination of Charlie Kirk all the way through this moment. And then there are horrors all over the world that because social media presents it to us. Politicians who run for political office often talk about public safety being the number one thing they run on. You can look back at all of the campaign commercials from just about every cycle. Public safety, public safety. What does it mean in a world like this? If you are a believer, what is safety that God promises? Davis, how do you understand safety in this context?
I think that's a challenging thing to do, and I think sometimes we idolize comfort and safety in a way that is not always helpful, because that's not necessarily what God has called us to do. So that's something I've been wrestling with all week as we think about these things. I think ultimately when we evaluate political campaigns and discussions of public safety, we have to look to ourselves, our family, our communities, and neighborhoods first, to look for the impact of the gospel, and then we have to understand what is the role of government, because the reality is if we're not taking care of our family, our neighbors, our own communities, the government's not always going to be there to help us, and even the frontline heroes like these police officers are put at risk by that. So we really need to look at our churches and internally get to know our neighbors and other things as we deal with these things.
That's a very different way of framing it, not just looking to government to, hey, we need more police, we need more of this, we need more resources, more money. Because I sense, and I've read a lot of what you've been saying and writing, you don't think that the answer is just to roll the tanks into communities or police every street corner, right? What's the balance there between the appropriate role of government and what we should be doing?
Yeah, and I think there's certain things that you can do to make schools, for instance, safer. But the problem is that it's a low trust society that we now live in. It wasn't always that way. Not other countries are that way. Some are even lower trust than us, but we're an increasingly low trust society.
We don't trust each other. We don't
trust each
right.
other, and it's because we're coming from wildly different worldviews that have wildly different ethical systems. And if we would come back to a recognition of the authority of not just God in general, but also of Christ over all of life, then maybe we could rebuild some of that foundation. And so we need to do things as far as policing and other important measures to keep our community safe. That's vital. As a York County resident, I couldn't be more grateful for our law enforcement right now. But that's the last resort. What we need are stronger families, fathers, pastors in churches, at schools. We need all of these smaller institutions, what Burke called little platoons. We need all of these smaller groups to have the social cohesion so that we can trust each other again.
I hear people saying, I hear what he's saying, but also there's nothing that a father or nothing that a mother or nothing that a pastor could do. And yet, when you see the profiles of so many of these, of the perpetrators and alleged perpetrators, you do see them often in isolation, right? You've worked with the young people for years. What is the ecosystem they need to create the safety and trust that Alex is talking about so that we don't have inevitably every isolated, lonely person goes to terrible violence?
Yeah, I think when we isolate ourselves, it becomes so easy to believe our own thoughts and feelings and to not listen to truth. And so what helps our young people in particular is when they're surrounded by people that will point them back to truth. Whether that be teachers or parents or pastors or community leaders that will remind them of the goodness of God, of who He is, the supremacy of Christ. When we start to put our trust in human things and in ourselves in particular, we're setting ourselves up for disaster. And the lone wolf, the isolated person, only has themselves to rely on. So the more we can turn them back to community, back to voices that can point them to God, the better off we're going to be.
And all the data seems to point to the fact that the wolves are being developed, those lone wolves, because they're living in isolation. Yes. And I know each of you in your own ways has been doing a lot to turn the tide in that. So thank you. Thanks for hanging with us this week. And I know from our viewers that they've appreciated this kind of a conversation in a world where there has not been a whole lot of hope anywhere. So thank you very much. Well, empowering women to make life-giving choices. Morning Star demonstrates Christ's love by offering health services and practical support to women facing unplanned pregnancies. You're watching Morning Light on Lighthouse TV.
Welcome back. An unplanned pregnancy can be overwhelming. The mission of Morning Star is to help women facing an unplanned pregnancy, help them make a courageous and life-giving choice. Joining me is Sarah Stanley, Director of Advancement with Morning Star. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So remind us about Morning Star.
Since 1972, Morning Star has been a part of the Central Pennsylvania community, offering support and compassionate and, most of all, confidential care to our moms, to families that are unprepared for pregnancy. We have been empowering women, men, and families to make life-giving decisions. We offer parenting classes, we offer pregnancy and health services, we offer practical support. And we also have an education outreach program that has been offered at local high schools and middle schools in the Central Pennsylvania area.
So what type of difference are you making?
Morning Star has always been rather impactful. It's a significant impact on Central Pennsylvania, but just in 2024 alone, our impact has been staggering. We have provided over 5,400 baby supplies to families in need. We reached over 2,700 students in local schools through our outreach program, and we had over 2,800 client visits just in 2024. We performed 1,119 ultrasounds, and from that, 511 moms at risk for abortion chose life for their babies.
Wow, that is amazing. I'll tell you what, an ultrasound makes a huge difference. I know that when I had ultrasounds for both of my children, it's just really amazing. It's like, oh my goodness, God created this infant inside of me.
And the great thing about ultrasounds, especially since we've had children, is the science and the technology behind them have really progressed. So you're seeing 4D ultrasounds. These are the visual image of the baby moving in real time, so parents are able to see it. So the impact, aside from the medical aspect, it's vital. It's vital to have an early ultrasound when you're pregnant. It is able to determine, of course, that it is an active pregnancy. It's important to make sure that they are able to find the fetal heartbeat, and also it's important in dating the pregnancy. So determining the gestational age of the baby and determining a due date, that's always helpful. It's also important to have an ultrasound because an ultrasound can also diagnose issues like ectopic pregnancy and even early signs of pregnancy loss. And aside from the medical aspect, the emotional aspect, just that visual experience for parents to see that baby in real time on the screen, it enhances their connection and attachment with their child, and they're learning about its development and its growth. So it truly empowers moms to choose life for their babies.
Yeah, it is overwhelming. You had mentioned about talking to students. Tell us more about that and what their reaction is.
So most recently, we had a community event at Penn State Harrisburg, and I was able to go out and speak among other students along with some of the other Morning Star volunteers, and we were out talking with these students who are in college, and you're mingling and interacting with them, and I can't tell you, probably about 3 students came over and said, "Hey, we do know who Morning Star is. We had you in our class. You taught us about relationship skills and how we're supposed to honor our bodies and how we develop healthy boundaries in relationships, and that carries over then into the more intimate relationships."
Yeah, so something that you really do need to talk to your, sons and daughters when they are young. Absolutely. And get them on the right track. I think it's really important for people to understand that your care does not just stop with determining if you're pregnant or not. It happens and it takes place after the baby is born.
Yes, absolutely. So part of Morning Star's vision to empower all to be able to make life-giving choices is also in offering support through all of our educational programs. We offer parenting classes. We offer, of course, the practical support. There are community resources available as well as community referrals. Our hope is to be able to empower everyone by giving them the tools they need for their family to be able to thrive.
And that's really what's needed.
Absolutely.
What's done in the very beginning is very important, but to carry through is so very important too.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you. We do need to take a break, but we have much more that we would like to talk to you about right after. Coming up next on Morning Light, run and walk for her, I should say. Lace up your sneakers and take steps to help Morning Star continue its mission to save the lives of the unborn. Stay with us. We're back right after the break. In our last segment, Morning Star shared its mission to help women facing an unplanned pregnancy. Now, you can take steps to empower even more women to choose life. Joining me once again is Sarah Stanley, Director of Advancement. So let's talk about the event that's coming up tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So every year, Morning Star holds a Shooting Star 5K Run and Walk for Life. And it's an event, it's a family fun event. We have runners that come out and do a 5K. It's chip timed. That begins at 8 a.m. So registration's at 7. And those runners can win prizes and medals. And then at 10 a.m., everyone gathers and we walk along Front Street. We are showing the city of Harrisburg our support for life. We are walking along Front Street and carrying hundreds of pro-life balloons. And then throughout the day, throughout that morning, there are other things going on. We have bounce house, we have live music, we have the train and carousel rides on City Island, as well as things like a sausage and pancake breakfast that's free, and shaved ice, so many different things, and fun for everyone, all members of all families, of all ages.
And some people may be watching and say, oh, I would love to go. Is it too late?
So no, we accept registration morning of, so come early, 7 a.m., and you can register to run. You can even register to walk. And if you have any questions about Morning Star's mission, you can talk to any one of us there.
And what is the goal?
So we did set a goal this year to raise $135,000 to be able to provide 208 moms in our community with our life-affirming services. So we are actually at 72, just above 72% of that goal. So we're already able to provide 151 moms in this community with those services.
Oh, that's so reassuring to so many people. So it's going to be a busy weekend for you, and then Monday we have the Pennsylvania March for Life at the state capitol. So that's something where hundreds, thousands of people will be there for that.
Yes. We're very excited about that. It is wonderful to have everyone come together in the community in honor of the sanctity and the dignity and the beauty of life. And in honor of that as well, Morning Star will remain open that day and be able to offer those life-affirming services to people in the community who need them.
Now, Jeff and I will be there live, and it's an exciting time to be there. What is the main message that you hope people get from this?
So, Morning Star's vision has been to empower all to be able to make courageous and life-giving choices. Our mission and our ministry is reaching so many hearts and saving lives one at a time. So, we encourage everyone, come out to the run walk, look us up, come to our website, get information, become involved.
Right, and I know as far as the rally is concerned, buses from all over Pennsylvania are coming to this. Why is that event so important?
Because I feel like in light of everything that's going on, particularly with the amount of violence and what's going on politically, and where is that value? We need to really stand and show that every life is truly valuable. We need to honor and love and support each other, just empower each other to make life-giving choices. And that's not just in carrying our baby, but it's in honoring those around us in our community as well.
Yeah, every life counts, and we need to respect that. How can we pray for our nation? How can we pray for Morning Star?
No matter what our beliefs are, no matter, everyone needs direct guidance from our Lord. And so it's important to lift our leaders up in prayer. It is important to understand that, God has us here for a reason and for a mission. And so we must lift up each other and even ask for ourselves for His guidance and His will for us to be obedient. In times like this, it's a challenge to be faithful. But I tell everyone, I tell my kids, when it's hard to be faithful, be obedient and pray and ask that He will help you to be obedient.
Pray. That is the key word. Thank you so much for being with us, and have a wonderful day tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
To learn more about Morning Star's life-saving mission and how it is impacting the community, or to participate in the Shooting Star 5K Walk and Run, check out supportmorningstar.com. Stay with us. We're back right after the break. Welcome back. Coming up Monday on Morning Light, as I had mentioned, Jeff and I will be live from the state capitol for the 5th annual PA March for Life. There was a record turnout for last year's event. We will talk with this year's keynote speaker, Ryan Baumberger. Plus, you will hear from the president of the national organization, March for Life. And that's a look at what's coming up Monday on Morning Light. Now, Jeff, your closing thoughts, and have a wonderful weekend.
Wonderful weekend. See you on the Capitol steps.
That's right.
Well, since the earliest chapters of Pennsylvania's story, the long blue line's courage of laying down their lives for neighbors has been uninterrupted. The first Philadelphia policeman known to have given his life in the line of duty was 52-year-old Hillary Baker, a father of 5, Philly's first police superintendent and mayor. When a major yellow fever outbreak devastated the city, claiming up to 4,000 lives. Thousands of Philadelphians fled, including many of the city's wealthy and elite. Second to the dreaded virus, looting was the biggest threat. So Mr. Baker stayed, organized the first uniformed police force to prevent looting and protect property. He was an immigrant who fought in Washington's Continental Army and helped organize opposition to slavery. When he died in September of 1798 from yellow fever, history records him as the first known police officer to give the ultimate sacrifice. It's an extraordinary legacy of courage and faithfulness patterned after the example of Jesus himself. And today, we thank God for every one of them through that long blue line. For Debra and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Kocman. Thanks for spending the week with us. Go check on your neighbors, grieve with those who grieve, and God willing, we'll see you at the March for Life on Monday.